This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show was brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts. Mountain Glass is holding their January sale, which includes borosilicate Golden Gate tubing at 20% off. Just put in the term Golden Gate at checkout. And they also are holding their soft glass COE 104 sale on a Fetre or a Moretti rod at 30% off. Just put in the word Fetre, that's E-F-F-E-T-R-E at checkout. For any other questions or comments, just go to mountainglass.com. That is mountainglass.com. And this show is also brought to you by Green Flash Glass. And if you are a wholesaler, retail store, get a hold of them through their website at greenflashglass.com. Give them a phone call and place your order. That is greenflashglass.com. And all sales are always free shipping that are $1,000 or more. And now on with the show. Hey, what's happening, all my beautiful people? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 72. Much for tuning in today. I'm excited, as always, to bring you chats with artists, sharing stories and inspiring while helping you grow your business. Today is the first episode of our new Q&A segment, which I'm really pumped up about, and I've scanned the pages of social media for questions and issues pertaining to areas of glassblowing. Today, we are starting off with 3 that I felt stood out the most, and each week I will answer your questions and concerns, and if you have one and would like to share it, please send it my way to info@wiseguyradio.com, and that's WYZGUY radio.com, and I'll give you full credit and a shout out with your artist name on Instagram. And before we begin, please don't forget to share the show with your family and friends, those that might be interested in what it is that you do for a living. You can share the show and kind of give them some insights to it. Just give them a heads up, there might be some foul language in there. Also, please go to iTunes and subscribe. It always helps the show get up there in the ranks and what have you. And also, while you're there, if you could leave a rating and a comment for the show. But most importantly, if you guys could share the show, it would be fantastic. I'm stoked to be here. Thank you again. You guys are tuning into our first ever question and answer show. So the 3 topics we're covering today, the first one is going to be how much does it cost to do or vend at a trade show? And the second one was how many CFMs or how much CFMs for my ventilation fan should I have based on my space? And then the third one was what are the best times to post pictures, images, and post in general on social media feeds. So back to what we were the first one, which was what it costs to do a trade show. Now again, with the trade shows that are becoming more popular and because of the amount of shops that we have in our country now as well, or in a relevant sense to have these more trade shows, I hear mixed responses and reviews on them, what times or days are better than others. But in all reality, it's pretty awesome that we do have these outlets to have exposure individually. Some of us, like myself personally, I don't go to the trade shows, but I will be going to them this year. Really, it is good to go and have the experience, especially just to be around all the other artists out there and expose yourself to them and create and build new friendships. And also because you can go out there and rep yourself. Now, myself personally, my glass is represented from 2 different distributors out there, one main one and then one secondary, and that just gives me a chance to have a couple different outlets besides just having them sell my stuff straight to shops. The shops can now come to them, you know what I mean? But again, to the question, there are some basic expenses. The first thing you got to think about when you get into a trade show is actually what it costs to get into the show. Your expense just for the fee to get in can run anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500, depending on what you're looking at. Champs, Age, and Glassroots all have variations. The one thing about Age that I like, which I think is fun, is that you can actually rent a room, that people will just come to your room where it's all set up. And for your fee that you pay, you also get an adjacent room. I believe it's adjacent room. That is your sleeping room, basically. So you have two rooms, rooms. One is your smoke shop in a sense, or your gallery space, and then the other one is your room that you sleep in. Now, I do hear mixed reviews on these as well. Ideally, depending on how experienced you are as an artist and your level of experience, you can get yourself into the artist arenas. You can be closer to where the traffic comes in. Like the Big Galleria is one of those other ones. It's like the fourth show I didn't bring up, which I apologize for on that, but they're all about the same. They all have different areas and zones. Champs right now is getting really big with the games and stuff. Champs is actually the original trade show in a sense for our industry. They've been the adult trade show since 1999. My first distributor I had used to go there all the time, and it was pretty cool going there and then coming home with all these orders, which is something that is, again, beneficial for doing trade shows. Basically, what you're looking at, again, is your trade show fee is around $1,000. Your airfare, I did from Florida, from Tampa to Vegas, which is a long-ass flight, even though it's not that long, but it still is a pretty good distance. Some of y'all may be able to drive, depending on location. Also, some of these shows coming up for Age in the summertime, I guess in June or July, will be in Texas this year. So it all depends on where you live, but again, an average airfare is around $350 round trip. Sometimes with airfare, you can get a hotel accommodations included, which is what a package I looked up on Expedia. They had basically, it was $100 a night average for a hotel room for 4 to 5 nights, depending on how long you want to stay. Age this year runs for basically 3 days, so you got to stay for 4 nights, maybe 5 nights, depending on how you want to get set up and also pack the next day after the show's over. But basically, you're looking at airfare $350, hotel room is $100 a night. Fee for the show is $1,000. You have your ground transportation. Depending on your location, you can walk or you can call an Uber or a Lyft or take a taxi or whatever. You figure it's going to roughly cost you around $20 per ride. So you roughly figure in about 5 days, or you're going to have around $100 of expenses, maybe more in that cost. You also have to think about shipping your materials and glass to the show. You can also take them with you on planes, but then you got to check it in also, which could be a pain in the ass and kind of sketchy. Also shipping it as well. But again, shipping can cost anywhere from $300 to $500 depending on the size of your boxes and how much you're bringing. And then you got to think about your food and entertainment while you're there as well, which you figure maybe $50 a day. So again, just recap this: airfare $350, hotel roughly $100 a night, fee for the show anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500. Your transportation on the ground is roughly $20 round per ride, maybe $100 total. Your cost of shipping is going to be anywhere from $300 to $500, and then your food and entertainment is going to be roughly $50 a day. So what I did was calculated this, did an average, and I ran around $2,500 to $4,000 it's going to cost you, depending on, again, how much fun you want to have at these shows. There's packages you can get now through the trade shows where they hook you up with everything included, and I believe your airfare is separate, not in the packages, but they do have discounts on hotel rooms and what have you. So definitely plan ahead, keep track of these shows, all 3 trade shows, and I will add the big show onto this link now that I'm looking at it. So all 4 trade shows will have links, and you can click on them and just go there and sign up for their emails and stuff, and they'll email you show updates and what have you. And then if you want to go to a show, you can start planning. But again, think about the highest number possible, which is, I shouldn't say possible, but the highest number average I got out of here was $4,000. So think that if you need to spend $4,000 to go to a trade show, that you should really be selling at least $15,000 to $20,000 worth of stuff while you're there, minimum, to make it worth your time going out there. Because of the amount of money you're going to have to or time, I should say, you're going to have to spend to create the product to go there. If you sell $20,000 in stuff and you take out this $4,000 cost, plus what all it costs you to make all that glass, could be anywhere from $1,000 up. You're looking now at around $5,000. So you'll come out with $15,000, but it may have also taken you 3 months to make all that glass. So you break that up over 3 months, and then you got $5,000 a month. And then you break that down, and you break it down, you keep doing the math. So it's something that you really need to think about before you do these trade shows. It's very important. I think what you should first do is just go to one, not even sell any glass, just go check it out and see what it's all about, which is what I'm going to be doing myself personally, just to kind of get the feeling for it, besides promoting the show and rubbing elbows and seeing people that I haven't seen in years. But at the same time, I'm going to go for the experience. I want to go view all the rooms, see the layouts of them, see how Vegas is, the whole 9 yards. And then when I go again with materials and go to sell, I'll be way more prepared. So just some things to think about. Hope that answers some questions there. And again, we will expound upon this stuff in future shows. We're going to do a whole show on doing trade shows and how to do them properly. Our next question I saw, which came from a Torch Talk post on Facebook, and those that have not joined the Facebook group called Torch Talk, I highly recommend it. It is my favorite group on Facebook in terms of the glass blowing groups. It's full of newbies and oldies, and everybody shares and is nice, and some guys will post some stuff and we'll call them out and call bullshit or fill information in, But this question came from there. This came from a new artist. Her name is Angie Russell, and she put a post up about ventilation, which was an exhaust setup that she actually found on Amazon for around $150, and I was actually quite impressed by it. Came with a fan and a louver flappy cover thing that goes outside. She was basically asking if the CFM that it had, which was just under 1,000 CFMs on low and on high is around 1890, if it was too small for her shop space. And she has a small shop space, roughly around 6 by 6 by 6. It looked like on the picture that she put up there. Doing some research, I went to a website which was pretty good. It deals with HVAC and air conditioning systems, but they had a basic formula on how you can actually find out exactly how many CFMs you need based on your space. Now, when you think of the space, you need to also think of how much fresh air is coming in, and they actually call it the air change, which is basically when you have a load of air in a room, how much time it takes for that entire load of air to be removed and then refreshed with full load of fresh air. They have calculations on here that you can figure out. If you know what the CFM of your fan is already, then you can just put this number in here. So if you know your CFMs of your fans, you can do the calculation on how much air change you should have per hour. And then that kind of lets you know in terms of basic. I don't really know how to, because I'm not an expert, I just wanted to share that there's this thing in there about air change. We all know it's very important that as your air is going out, that fresh air is coming in to keep the mix down. Which is also, again, very important. You can literally suck the oxygen right out of your room, get lightheaded, get dizzy, not feel good. Fresh air is important. But the main purpose of this question was asking about the size of the fan based on the size of the space. So there is a calculation where you can actually figure out what CFMs you need for your room. Now, he has a chart on here that lists different. It has basically a number, which represents how many air changes you can have per hour. And there's one at the very bottom for public buildings, which is basically smoking rooms, which I figured with what we do in our ventilations that we need, we should use the smoking room number, which is between 15 and 20, and I plugged in 20 as the high number for my calculation. Now, my space that I have in our studio, let me get my paper out here for you guys. I roughly figured we have a 1,200 square foot space in the full entire studio, but if I look at the actual area that is being used for our bench and studio space, I'm going to say it's half of that. I can definitely tell a difference when I go to the other side of the studio in terms of the heat that's in there that's being captured, what have you. And when you get to the center of the room, you can literally almost feel like a wall. When the summertime was here, it was pretty rough. But still, so I'm going to take my number and divide it by 2. So I'm going to say I have 600 square feet that I'm working with. Now, with this calculation, he wants you to first, step 1 is to use the above air changes per hour table to identify the required air changes needed for the use of the room. And then he has his example here, but I'm going to say we have a smoking room that we're going to be using, which is 20 changes per hour. Now, step 2 is to calculate the volume of your room, and volume is measured by measuring the length times the width times the height of the space. I figured my space that we have is roughly 20 by 15 by 10 in terms of the room space that we're using for it. And then number 3 is multiply the volume of the room by the required room air changes. So my 20 by 15 by 10 equals 3,000. I times that by the 20 of the smoking room, which gives me 60,000. And then you take that 60,000 or whatever number you come up with and you divide that by 60 minutes. My answer after the 60,000 divided by 60, I need a fan that is a minimal of 1,000 CFMs. Now, I recommend, which most other people out there also recommend, that your fan is no less than 1,000 CFM, no matter how much space you have. But you have to take into consideration that if you don't have enough fresh air coming in, you are going to be drawing air from something. It may come through the cracks in the ceiling, your walls. It could be coming from inside your house. One of the things that was brought up on this post that she had put up there was talking about the fact that a lot of you all that live in the cold areas of the country, you guys have furnaces in your house that have a pilot light or put off some kind of exhaust. that usually gets exhausted out of the house through an exhaust pipe or something like that. But if you have a very strong draft that is actually sucking the heat out of your house and into your studio space, if it's attached to your house, you could literally suck in carbon monoxide and all the heat out of your house at the same time. So you need to make sure that you have enough fresh air coming in. You can go buy another box fan or get like a Hampton Bay brand style floor fan that is around 3,000 CFMs. I think there's like some crazy number for a small floor fan, and have that on the floor just bringing fresh air in. But you got to make sure that you have no cross draft going across in front of you, and also that your air is not blowing at your flame or at the source, because that will screw up your ventilation and the airflow. So just something to think about. But just go, I have this chart on the show notes. Again, it's just calculating the volume of your room. You multiply that by 20, and then you take that number and you divide it by 60, and that will give you your CFMs. So just take that calculation, figure it out, and you guys can kind of get a basic idea on what type of CFMs you should have running in your space. And on for our question 3 is asking about the best times to post on social media, especially Instagram. I found a couple of cool websites, which I'll have links on, that had some different infographics for this specifically. It also gets into days of the week and what have you also, which is the best times to post, which is pretty neat using these algorithms and calculations. Now, the Instagram post, it's showing that the best time to post on Instagram is, especially during the week, is 7 a.m., and that covers all 7 days of the week. So they're saying around 7 a.m., according to this graph, is the best time to post. And then it goes to 8 a.m., and then 9 a.m., and then it goes down from there. Also, later in the evening as well, they say is a better time too, because obviously a lot of y'all are getting off work and coming home, and you come home and you just relax on your couch or go take a crap or something, and you get on your phone and your iPads or your computer or whatever and start flipping through your social media. So they're saying as well the early evening, 4 to 5 p.m., and that covers any day of the week. They're also saying, like Twitter, for instance, the best times that they've found to post on Twitter is between 12 and 2 p.m. on Thursday. It's kind of weird. And I don't know what time zones these are. I'm going to say they're probably Eastern, but I don't know exactly. But I'm assuming Eastern. For Facebook, they're saying between 12 and 3 p.m. on Thursday, which is weird that on Thursday you do that. They're also finding on Pinterest that between 7 and 10 p.m. on Saturdays are the best time to post. And then for all y'all that are on LinkedIn, they're showing that between 7 and 9 a.m. on Wednesdays. And then for anybody that uses Google Plus and on there and hang out and stuff, they're saying 8 to 10 a.m. on weekdays. So that's kind of an interesting thing, but mainly with Instagram, I do know myself personally that I get most of my responses and likes first thing in the morning before 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and then also in the evening around, I'd say actually late night, after 11, between like 11 and 2 a.m. I'll post, and I'll get people from the West Coast or in other areas of the world as well that are following me on there. And so there you go. That is the answer to question 3. Hope you guys enjoyed this segment of our Q&A. Again, each week I will be going over at least 3 topics, and those that have posted on there or sent me messages, I will give you guys shout-outs for that. So please send me emails and messages to info@wiseguyradio.com. You can also leave me a message on my direct message on Instagram if you'd like. My Instagram is @jmichaelglass. And if you guys are not yet following our Wise Guy Radio page on Instagram, it is WYZGUI_radio. And then I will also be here and there doing some Instagram-only Q&As, some Facebook-only Q&As, and some Twitter-only Q&As. As the show grows and this whole segment evolves and gets better, I will be doing that as well. So love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. Hope these questions and answers help you guys. Up till then, we will see you guys on episode 72. Happy melting. Much love. We'll talk to you guys later. Peace. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.
You're listening to the Wise Guy